And welcome back to Newsroom on ANN7 with myself, Matapelo Moloi. Well, a total of 3,074 motorists have been arrested on South African roads in the first 16 days of the festive period for drunken driving, speeding, reckless and negligent driving and the possession of false documents. Now, the Metro Police have conducted 258 roadblocks in all provinces, but now cops are concerned over drivers being tipped off on social media about roadblock locations. Now, reporter Kani Mapanga found this report. Take a look.
People should think twice before they post messages of roadblocks on their social media sites, as this could result in people being charged with defeating the ends of justice if they get caught. The South African police are taking issue with a trend in social media where people are using various platforms to warn others about roadblock locations.
It's going to be very difficult to arrest people that are sending warnings to other people on social media because it's going to be quite a very lengthy thing to do. It's not easy for us to say, because other people, I think maybe yourself, you don't use your real names. So to prosecute the person in court is going to say, that's not even my name. You know, how will you prove that it is them?
Police have been made aware of instances in the past where announcements were made at pubs, clubs or on WhatsApp groups to warn others to stay away from roadblocks. The JMPD says this is encouraging people to break the law, and making this illegal would be a challenge.
I just want to send a warning to the people that created the apps, people that are doing that. Listen, it means you are saying to the people out there that I'm helping you to get away with murder. I'm helping you to do the wrong thing and then warn you that you shouldn't go somewhere because there's law enforcement. And you better be careful, because one of the days you will need the police to be there, and the police won't be there because your app or your blog is helping other people to run away from law enforcement after they do the wrong thing.
During the festive season, it's important for holiday makers to understand their rights.
Remember, by Act, it says when you do a bodily search, it has to be, if you are a male, you have to do it on a male. If you are a female, or I'm stopped, being a female, a male stopped a female motorist, I have to, get one of our females to have a bodily search on that particular lady. I can't, as a male, search a female motorist. It's wrong. It should not happen. That's why we have females that are working with us. That's why we've employed so many ladies within our uniform for that purpose, that when you want to arrest a lady, you have to make sure that you call a lady and she's the one who's supposed to do a bodily search. I can't search a female motorist. By law, it's not allowed to happen.
The South African police and the Metro Police are both law enforcers. They both arrest. Metro Police is appointed according to the Police Act. So I can arrest you anywhere for crime, for housebreaking, for any crime that you commit. I can arrest you as Metro Police. The only difference is I cannot investigate the case. The case will be investigated by the investigator at SAPS. So that's all what I want to explain to you then. I have the powers to arrest. I will arrest you. I'll be the arresting officer. I'll be the one that will give the evidence in court.
Since the start of December, there has been 3,000 incidents caused by drinking and driving. Now the Department of Health has called on people to be vigilant on the roads.
Look, what we are saying is the Department of Health in Gauteng and the MEC of Health, actually, she's calling upon members of the public to be cautious on the roads, actually, or specifically, and make sure that people don't indulge on alcohol or any substance before they venture into their trips. We are saying up to so far, since the 3rd of December. Para have seen about 949 cases of trauma, and Charlotte Maxeke, they've seen more than 450 cases since the 3rd up until today. So you can imagine, it's not even, okay, it's half December. We're still going, for the better 2 weeks or so, where people will still be indulging.
While many say they are protecting their loved ones, some disagree.
If people want to help other people from avoiding such trouble, then maybe they should. But on the other hand, you could say that the police have a case, because it could be, in a way, a conspiracy to commit, like to avoid crime and stuff like that. So, in my opinion, that's it.
I think the traffic officers are doing an amazing job. They've stopped so many criminals. I mean, I've been hijacked, and it's so good to know that they stopped the hijackers. But at the same time, sometimes they stop us for things like cell phone. You shouldn't be talking on your cell phone because it causes accidents, by the way. So, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. The app is it's a bad thing, because now people are going to think they can evade crime when they're guilty. I think not.
Now the Metro Police say it will step up their operations for the festive season. Over 3,000 have been arrested since the beginning of December relating to drinking and driving, a number which is expected to rise. Government has urged citizens to be responsible on the roads over the festive season. Kani Mapanga, ANN7, Johannesburg.
And now for more on this story, joining me in studio is Dirk Visser, who's a social media expert, Howard, the chairman for Justice Project South Africa, JMPD spokesperson, Mr. Wayne Minnaar. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us right here on ANN7. Now, firstly, this is something that's been going on for quite some time, where you know that you're traveling to work and you're going through really heavy traffic and you're like, hey friend, police on the road. Be aware or stay away, or taxi drivers actually notify themselves and knowing exactly when to dodge police roadblocks. Just take us through this, Mr. Wayne Minnaar, of this new rule. Perhaps just more details on this new phenomenon.
Yes, well, look, roadblocks is an everyday occurrence with roadside checks happening regularly, particularly now in the festive season. Where cars get stopped to see that drivers are fit, to see that they have the appropriate driving license, to see that they're not under the influence of alcohol or drugs, to see that the vehicles are fit. So roadside check operations is something that happens daily as we lead or go towards Christmas and eventually into the new year. And there's been a roadside check operation just this morning that I attended along Boyson's Road, where literally dozens of motorists were stopped and checked to see if they have a valid driving license, to see that they are sober, and to see that they're fit to drive. And also just for presence, to remind motorists that it's important that they obey the rules of the road for us to reduce the accidents and deaths on our roads.
And now perhaps just take us through the legalities of having actually police officers to arrest those that warn their friends or warn their companions of roadside checks thereof.
Well, the story that people using social media in order to alert people to police operations, etc., whilst it's socially unacceptable that people should be doing this, ultimately there are a lot more effective ways of policing crimes like driving under the influence of alcohol and other moving violations than setting up roadblocks. So I think that one needs to move with the times and understand that as much as you'd like to control the morals of South Africans, you're not going to do it. So we need to recognize this, and we need to understand that this claim that's now being made by Durban North Police, which was previously made by the JMPD, that they're going to arrest people and charge them with defeating the ends of justice for tweeting or posting on social media, the location of roadblocks, etc., etc. It's not going to succeed. And quite frankly, what we need to do is transform the way in which we police road traffic laws, and we need to do it consistently all year round, not just at Christmas and New Year and Easter. It needs to be done consistently all year round, and I would say that our police and traffic authorities need to start trying to get your reasonable motorists on their side by showing them that they actually do enforce all moving violations all of the time. The fact is that they don't.
Yeah. Now, Dirk, referring to what Mr. Howard is saying, that the volumes of people on social media who are communicating amongst themselves, notifying themselves on roadside checks and warning themselves, the feasibility of this. Do you think this is a feasible move from the Metro Police side?
Yeah, you know, the laws with social media are very new in South Africa. So we're broaching the topic of freedom of speech because it's being in the public domain. So there's been a lot of cases going in where there's more defamation on social media, which is being handled now. This question brings in a question of morality.
True.
And I can't speak for the morality of the South African public. It's whether or not they want to. Now, if we stop them from posting on social media, aren't they just going to send a WhatsApp to a group? Aren't they just going to send an SMS to a group? It's the same thing, because those SMSs will then go just as viral as a social media post. Just because it's out in the open or not out in the open, it's still doing the same thing. We can't stop people from posting on social media. We can hope that they would see the benefit of roadblocks and keeping dangerous drivers off the road, but purely because they want to have a good time and they want to warn their friends. Is that the right choice? I can't say yes or no. You know, it's a personal thing. But, you know, we're never going to stop it. You're never going to stop people tweeting. You're never going to stop people Facebooking. And if you do, like I said, it's going to go into WhatsApp. It's going to be an SMS. People are always going to be communicating. So trying to put a lid on this boiling pot, you're never going to succeed.
Now, Mr. Minnaar, there isn't a legislative in place to actually control this growing trend. How is the Metro Police actually planning to go on about to actually control this growing thing?
You see, I'll tell you, it's not really a huge concern to the JMPD, because we have more than one roadside check in place when we do the operation. So what that means is that the roadside checks are taking place on roads which are interlinked. So if a vehicle is not stopped at one roadside check, there is a very big possibility that it will be stopped at another roadside check, or 7, as we do happen to have it in all the regions, the roadside checks on a continuous basis. I must also say that about 2 weeks ago, there was a victim of a hijacking who was found in the boot of a vehicle in Soweto. And if it had happened that someone had sent out a message notifying people about the roadside check operation, the criminals could have also got that information, and they could have taken another route. And there's a possibility that the victim may not have been found in the boot of the car. So there's also a huge disadvantage to it.
So now, would you actually, this is in place to actually help motorists, you know, improve their driving and everything, or would you rather say this is an example of cop high-handedness, perhaps?
You see, I'll say, as we have it at the moment, that people have their rights to use social media. So it's not a massive concern to us, I must say, because we conduct the operations and we still find the offenders that we need to find. So we'll continue that way.
Now to you, would you also not say this is an example of cop high-handedness, perhaps, in this case?
Well, I would say that the threats emanating from Durban North SAPS are unfortunate. Because they've clearly not learned from the JMPD. It wasn't that long ago that Wayne Minnow was the one who was saying that they were going to arrest this chap by the name of Pig Spotter. They were going to make an example of him. They were going to prosecute him for defeating the ends of justice, etc., etc. And that never happened. And what the Metros actually learned to do in Johannesburg was to actually use the social media to their advantage by sending in something called false flags, where you could actually encourage people to get into an Uber taxi or to take a drive me home service as opposed to them actually being arrested. Because ultimately, what is the objective here? The objective is to keep people who've consumed alcohol or drugs, I might tell you, off our roads so that they don't potentially go and crash into somebody and hurt them. That is the objective, or at least that's what the objective should be. So perhaps Durban North SAPS can come and take a lesson from the JMPD and the EMPD and start using social media to achieve their own purposes. It actually works very well.
And now perhaps people would actually say, it's my phone, it's my time, it's my airtime, you know, it's freedom of speech. I say what I want to say. I can really express myself, whether it be on social media. Well, do you not think that this is actually infringing on people's rights of freedom of expression?
You know, it could. Or it couldn't. You know, the thing is with social media is that there's still a lot of grey area about it. We don't actually know where this thing sits. And I agree with the sentiments of using social media effectively to put out false tweets, you know, or false posts. You know, because the thing with social media is that anything that's viral works. So we know in this country that if it's got to do with religion or politics, it's going to work on social media. And people are looking to avoid the cops, unfortunately, but they are. So if the JMPD or whoever it is starts saying, okay, well, let's catch these guys now, and say, well, there's a roadblock at Commissioner Street, they're going to go around and catch them at the next road. You know what I'm saying? So you've just got to be clever with this thing. Is it impeding in people's freedom of speech? Yes, if you tell them to stop, because it's a public platform and there's no legal grounds for that.
And now looking at other possible ways of actually catching those on the wrong side, you know, of the law, isn't there any other ways that we could actually try, perhaps of this, using this specific method, which could actually infringe on people's rights, and we could actually result in a huge public outcry? Like, what other ways can we actually look at?
Well, look, social media, electronic media, radio, print, other forms of communication that we depend on. And social media is just, I must say, it's of a huge benefit to us all. And I don't think it's such a big problem for motorists to be informed of a roadside check or operation. The objective is to get our roads to be safer. And if it so need be that people are taking alternative transport or a taxi to get home, good, because then at least we have less drunken drivers on the road.
And now looking at perhaps the rights of motorists, just elaborate to us the rights of motorists when they're stopped by police. What is it that they can actually be issued from the police's side, or, you know, how can they actually, motorists, protect themselves from actually being taken advantage of?
Well, the first thing that you need to do is you need to understand that you have an absolute responsibility towards yourself and everybody else on the road to be a safe driver. And that means that you should not consume alcohol or drugs and then drive. Plain and simple. Okay. However, when you are stopped by police, you do have rights, but so do they. So please don't start off your conversation by turning around and referring to them as nasty pigs or anything like that. The fact is that you need to treat a policeman or a policewoman with the requisite respect, and if you have done nothing wrong, you have nothing to fear. when police start getting heavy-handed with people, there are ways and means to deal with that after the fact. It is no use fighting back, because if you do, you are going to find yourself in a situation that's less than desirable. But you asked about effective policing. I was fortunate enough to observe the City of Cape Town Traffic Services mount an anti-drink driving exercise where they use something called the Ghost Squad, which they have in Cape Town, and they went and saturated an area where they knew party goers would be in unmarked police vehicles, and they observed the way that people were driving and pulled them over. Do you know that that netted as many people as a conventional roadblock would actually net, without anybody being aware of the fact that the operation was going on? Now, that's the kind of creativeness our friends at Durban North Police Station need to get involved
without
in.
cutting you, now, Mr. Minnaar, you know, looking at the proposed fines which are placed in place with this new trend, you know, regulating this new trend, that I don't know whether it's true, whether you can perhaps confirm this for us. If you are found on the wrong side of actually prompting your friends, of notifying them of roadside blocks, you will be fined a fine of 2,500 rand. Is this true? No, and perhaps the legalities of this?
No, it's not. It's not so simple, because if you do arrest someone for defeating justice, there needs to be evidence. There needs to be proof. So to be able to find a person guilty of such an offence, it's not easy to do. So and being able to establish the evidence. I mean, even our colleagues in the social media will be able to tell you.
And we've got a caller on the line, but I actually want to come back to you, speaking on the applications that there are available, which actually notify people. Perhaps if you could dwell more on that. Definitely. But on the phone line, joining us now is Gregory from Cape Town. Gregory, thank you so much for joining us right here on Newsroom. Perhaps just share your sentiments on this new growing trend. Do you feel this will infringe on the rights of people?
Good afternoon to the three gentlemen and the one lady. Thank you very much for taking my call. Me, myself, being a law enforcement officer with the City of Cape Town for 15 years, and knowing a bit of the bylaws, if I can still remember, it is more than 12 years ago that I was in uniform. What you guys are talking about, like warning your families or your friends on social media about this possible or definite roadblock, yes, it's a good idea. It's a very, very good idea. But I mean, what if my intention is, if I know my son and his friends is having a party and I know they've been drinking, by warning them not to go on the road, to rather stay where they are, I mean, I don't see the sense in you guys wanting to give me a problem when I'm trying to avoid issues. They could want to drive, get involved in an accident. I don't understand 100% you guys mean good. It's all, but I don't see you guys going to pass that bylaw. No ways. I don't think you guys are going to get it right.
Well, thank you so much, Gregory. Just to comment on what Gregory is actually saying, because he's literally just refuting this entire rule.
No, he's not. What he's actually saying is that he cannot see how prosecuting people for defeating the ends of justice could actually be possible if you were to come up with this so-called bylaw that if you warn people, then you're going to get a 2,500 rand fine. Let me give you an example. If you flash your lights at oncoming vehicles,
I'm going to have to cut you short.
You would have to know that they're speeding in order to be defeating the ends of justice. That is how our law works, and that's decided case law in the High Court of South Africa.
It's so unfortunate, due to time constraints, we have to cut our conversation very short, and I couldn't even get back to you on those applications that there is on social media. But sir, thank you so much for all joining us right here on 8 and 7. It's been an absolute pleasure, whether it was Dirk Visser, social media expert, Howard Dembowski, the chairman of the Justice Project South Africa, and Mr. Wayne Minnaar, just joining us, speaking more on the threat of arrest on people who warn others about the police presence on roads.